It's Lie. So it's
Oh,
Slavic Lie. So Tomjanovic.
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 Tomjanovic. Okay.
Yeah.
Diego Tomjanovic. Welcome to In
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Good Company podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here. You are
Mhm.
an astrologer, a writer, a traveler,
Yes.
founder of Cosmos Within, amazing company who makes beautiful birthday candles. Wait, is that what I understand correctly? Is there a candle for every single day of the year?
Yeah, that's correct. I have mine here, which is my day of the year, my
What
birthday.
when is your
Uh,
birthday day?
it's January 18th.
Oh my
It was
God,
a
we
month
are,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah, we are almost born. We are just 2 days apart in a calendar
That's
year.
amazing. Oh my God. So you can actually get a candle for your actual birthday. Because usually, there are candles for a month, for a sign, but not for a day. So that's
Yeah,
amazing.
we did for each day. So it was a long process. We had to develop, and I had to write 366 different personality readings, one for every day of the year, which was a lot. It took us like more than a year, almost 2 years,
Wow.
while I was traveling. Yeah, because I really wanted to be thorough. So what I did, and it was quite a process. I mixed astrology,
Uh-huh.
numerology, and I Ching. So I used three disciplines, but mainly astrology. And on top of that, I would pick like 20, 30 famous people born on each day,
Oh,
read their biographies, compare the patterns in their lives, in their behaviors, in the events of their life, and come to compare it to what I'm finding in the astrological charts. And then, based on that, summarize everything and write a small text that could fit on a candle.
wow.
So yeah, so you will see that each candle, you know, it looks nice,
Yeah.
but it's also very accurate. Like everyone who got one is really thrilled by the reading. They really like. We're getting a lot of compliments on the reading
Wow.
and on
That's
the accuracy
amazing.
of the reading. Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. It just hit me because for some reason I was like birthday candle, and I thought, and I saw on their website that there are, but I thought it was more like connected to signs. But that's amazing.
Mhm.
I need to get my then January 20th one.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
we
sending
jump right
one for
away to
you.
your amazing product, but let's step back for a second. And I
Mhm.
just would love you to share how you started with astrology. I know you are from Croatia, right? From a small
Yes.
town. So how
Yeah.
this whole journey started, and also I feel like I think men in astrology are pretty common, right? Which is maybe not bizarre, but a little bit maybe because it's not like a very manly in a stereotypical point of view.
Yeah.
But how
Yeah.
did you
There are
start
definitely
it,
more
and
women.
how it all came together for you?
Yeah, so starting from myself, and then I'll address some other things. But yeah, I'm from Croatia, from a really small town, and yeah, but that didn't stop me from learning things
Yeah.
always. And but it's interesting that I actually got into astrology by being extremely skeptical and by not believing in it.
Oh,
And I was kind of like in a identity crisis, and I wanted to I wanted to maybe explore if different kind of things can provide some answers for me, for answers that I was lacking in
mm-hmm.
terms of who I am, how should I act, what should I do in life. But I was very skeptical, and I actually wanted to research it more to disprove it, to just to eliminate that
Yeah.
possibility of that even being the case of helping me. But yeah, I got into it slowly, and I wasn't thrilled by it at first. But then
Yeah.
I met one person whose mother is actually an astrologer, and we grew very close.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew a lot of astrology, and through her and through hanging out with her, I started seeing the world through the eyes of astrologer.
Yeah.
In a way, I started to see people as a combination of different planets through signs. I started to see every interaction I have through the meeting of charts. And that
Mhm.
really helped me, in a time when I was like 19, 20. Everything seemed very chaotic, everything seemed scary. As a matter of fact, maybe, I was afraid of everyone in a
Yeah.
way, and I was afraid of stepping into the future. So being able to simplify people, which now I don't see it that way, I see it much more complexly. But back then, to simplify people and to simplify myself into some rudimentary behavioral patterns and energies really helps me calm myself down and actually go about my life in a normal way.
Is it just
So
this effect of, like, for example, like when I read my daughter's chart and she's a Leo and she has so much fire in it, in her chart,
yeah,
and I was like, oh my god, this is where all this energy comes from. Okay, and I get like,
exactly.
I was like, oh, she doesn't have HGG, she's just Leo.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the fire,
exactly.
kind of that, right? Like I feel like sometimes the astrology help us with the acceptance of us or others, right?
Exactly that. Like I would be like lacking attention
Yeah.
in some. I couldn't relax if I didn't have attention. And then I learned, okay, I have Moon in Leo. So I need to get a compliment to relax. My
uh,
moon safety Leo compliments, that's how I relax, right?
yeah.
And everyone is different. And then I would be in a company with someone who would be very loud,
Yeah.
who I would be like, why is this person like want to making jokes all the time? Why are they trying to be a leader? How
Yeah.
should I act? Should I allow them or not? And then I learned, okay, they have Mars in Leo, and then
Uh,
maybe they don't want to be a leader, they're just acting very they just like to express themselves. So it really helped me accept people for who they are and see them more, ironically more as themselves than I
yeah.
would without astrology. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love that.
so that's how I entered, that's how it all began. And then a few years after that, after studying it, I actually got a teacher in Croatia.
Mm-hmm.
He was also a man, which is, I agree, rare, because in modern day astrology is more connected to psychology
Yeah.
and to human relations, and that's more of area that traditionally women enter
Yeah.
enter more. And I believe that women are more inclined to analyze relationships and to
Yeah.
analyze their community, to keep it, to filter their community of toxicity, of bad people, to accept positive people, like much more cautious approach. And astrology is really good for that, and that's why
Yeah.
it found its home in many feminine communities. But there is also a very masculine side to astrology that is not so prominent today. It was more prominent in the past, but yeah, it still has its place.
Yeah. And there was a time that I was listening to something lately that every doctor had to know
Mhm.
astrology, right? Like
Yes, yeah,
that they not only check your body like medically, but also wanted to know what's going on, what forces, what energies are affecting you at that point, because maybe some of the symptoms you're experiencing is based
yeah,
on that, which I love. I think it's so fascinating.
yeah. It's very fascinating, and I'm sure it helped a lot of people. But we also have to be aware that it probably didn't help a lot of people,
Yeah.
because as with anything in life, whenever we get a tool, that tool kind of like gets abused. So probably doctors at the time wouldn't give their patient enough attention, but they would just calculate their chart, see, okay, they lack in the sanguinic temperament. That means their sun is weak. That means that we have to draw their blood. and then they will become better, which is not the case. It's much more complicated
Yeah,
than that.
yeah,
So I feel like removal of astrology from medicine brought us a lot of good. Maybe in the future astrology can find its way to medicine, because
yeah,
there are ways in the diagnosis of patients that we can detect weaknesses in the body, but it's very complex and it can be abused very easily.
yeah. Because there is this
Yeah,
medical kind of branch of astrology, right? That
that's right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Medical
But
astrology, yeah.
okay, so after you spent time with this mother of the friend, and then you had a teacher, and then you
Yes.
really dove deep and started doing readings, right? And
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
amazing,
That's right. That's right.
amazing.
That's right. First, I was, reading for friends. I think that's
Yeah,
pretty important. So, I don't know how you do it, but if you are in like a journey of learning astrology, but what I would recommend to everyone,
yeah,
what I was doing is anyone you meet, ask them for their chart. Like I have more than 500 people in my database, and whenever I need to know what some aspect means, I just filter them, and I know these people firsthand, so I can kind of like imagine how this affected them.
yeah.
So yeah, that's like the best thing. Reading to your friends and family is like the best start. Actually, the only start. I
Yeah.
can't even imagine how else you would start. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I was thinking, how would you describe, your style of astrology, right? Because you learn from all these people
Mm.
along the way. And actually, that's what drawn me to you, because I was looking for the beginning of the year. Well, you have March, but apparently it's some witchcrafts. March is the beginning of the year. So perfect timing.
Uh-huh.
But I was really drawn to your kind of like a fresh approach, very on some level practical, very connected to history, very connected to presence, right? Like the video, first video I saw of you was the one about planes, falling down and crashing lately, and I was just wondering if there's astrologically anything about it, and that's how you. That's what we were talking about. So, but how would you describe your style? Because I feel like every astrologer literally have a very different style. I'm talking about those who are really committed and really, practice it as
Mhm.
a art and passion. Uh, so how would you describe it?
Yeah, so I like to describe it as a more rational approach to astrology.
Yeah,
Although to a lot of people, probably that sounds like a contradiction,
yeah,
especially to those who don't believe in astrology. But I like to, find examples of every aspect, every event in history, and
yeah,
find patterns, basically, analyze a lot of charts and find similarities. Test every hunch. Uh, yeah, that's how I would describe it. I also every astrological reading is based on intuition as well,
yeah,
because you can maybe insert an image of an astrological chart for those who haven't seen it here. It's like so many lines, so many points, so many
yeah,
symbols. Like our human brain is not powerful enough to condense them all into one sentence, into one meaning. So you often have to rely on intuition for to do that. So it's kind of like a mix of that intuition and what could I describe as a like yeah, rational approach. I wouldn't describe it as scientific approach, because I feel like for scientific approach you need to use scientific method, and that's very hard in astrology, because especially because of that reason, that there is so much information condensed in every chart that it's hard to extrapolate a set of data that can be tested.
yeah,
It's almost like impossible. Maybe we will get to that point, but for now we can't. So that's why I say rational and not scientific. So yeah, a combination of a very rational approach and intuition. And to be more precise in terms of astrology, I like to use Hellenistic astrology,
uh-huh,
which is the astrology of old Romans,
mm-hmm,
from like the area of Mediterranean,
mm-hmm,
Greeks, Egyptians, Levant, yeah, Italy, that part. That has disappeared from use in like third, fourth century. It became kind of like obsolete with the fall of the Western Roman Empire.
Yeah.
But it's been reviving itself in the last 30 years with new translations.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like to use that because that's kind of like the original Western astrology. And I always like to go back to the source, because that's kind of like what's been tested the most. In the Roman time, the most intelligent people, the
Yeah.
smartest people, would probably be astrologers. While nowadays, that's mostly not the case, because it's not, it's not that lucrative, it's not that interesting, it's not on the brink of, it's not marking the progress of science. Although I believe it can, but
Yeah.
my the camp I'm in is very small. But in the Roman times, everyone who was intelligent knew astrology. So astrology was really tested, and the progress was great at that time. That's why I like to go back
Mhm.
so much, to get the main things.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
fascinating. I think like in every science, there is a room for growth and right, like every science evolves, right? Like
Yeah.
look at
Hmm.
medicine. It's not the same medicine that our ancestors were using. Like, and I see astrology as a people call it pseudoscience. I think it's a science. I see it as the oldest, most beautiful gift and database provided to us by our ancestors, and it also evolves, right? Like even now, technology that we have available, that is like, I don't even know how they did charts before, right? Now I type in astro.com my everything, and it shows up,
Yeah.
and the only thing I have to do is look at aspects I'm interested in. But it's also part of evolution of it, right, that we can even have access like this. But to your point, what you said
Exactly.
about
Hmm.
that it's not popular, I would disagree. I think becomes more popular. But to that point, how do you think people can, just a regular person, right? Like you are deep in astrology, which is amazing. I am very fascinated by it. I'm dabbing in. I'm like looking at my chart every other day and seeing something new, which is fascinating that I haven't seen. To your point, there's so much going on there, right? But somebody who is like skeptical or like, okay, this can help me in life, like how can they use in just a regular person life astrology to help themselves or to advance their growth or their life?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, what's the practical use of astrology?
Yeah.
So I can speak best from my own example.
Yeah.
Um, and just, I actually, before I get started, I just wanna, because it will be bugging me.
Go for it, go.
I just wanna say, you said that astrology is science, but I would disagree, because
Yeah.
science requires scientific method. So what we like to say in astrology is that astrology uh, is a knowledge database. So like there is like
Yes.
a huge repository of knowledge, and then you're taking what you can. And maybe one day astrology will become science again, but yeah, I believe that that's not now, and I think it's important that we recognize that it's not science, because by recognizing it, we are also acknowledging that we can take that step in the future. And I believe that step is very important and that we will take it, but we have to see that we have to take it. And that's the way that astrology will progress in the future. And
Yeah.
yeah, so coming back to your question, um, I think that the greatest gift that astrology gave us is to know
Mhm.
ourselves better. So I like to always say that the stereotypes
Yeah.
are the shortcuts of the mind. So
Mhm.
like imagine you're coming back home, and
Mhm.
instead of taking a long path back home, you take a shortcut. So you save energy.
Yeah.
And astrology works the same way. So you basically accept some truthful stereotypes, and in astrology we like to call them archetypes.
Yeah,
Like bundles of ideas about yourself that will allow you to stop thinking that much about yourself. You kind of like, okay, so astrology, in with help of a good astrologer, tells you what you're
yeah,
good at, what you're not good at,
yeah,
where you should go maybe in life, and you kind of like, you can relax,
yeah,
like you depend on these things. And then you can, maybe like test boundaries, see if it was correct, if it was not, look a little bit deeper.
yeah.
But that I would say is the greatest practical use of astrology. So like
It's
studying
kind of
your
like a
chart.
self-acceptance. Sorry, my dog just went off, of course.
Yes, exactly, self acceptance. Yeah,
Self-acceptance.
like.
And yeah, like even me looking at my chart, I discovered something, and I don't remember what would be a great example. I think it was more astro cartography, that I was born
Mhm.
on the Neptune line, which is
Yeah.
apparently prone to addiction, where I was born. And there was a moment in my life that when I was there, I was dealing with addiction, and it helped me kind of elevate the pain, or some kind of self
Mhm.
criticism. And I just put it on the Neptune line. I was like, oh, okay, that was a Neptune line. Obviously I took responsibility for
Yes.
my part, but it also
Yeah,
helped me
of
some
course.
level to heal, you know what I mean, and to like
Yeah, yeah.
understand that part of me,
Mhm.
and let it be, like you said, right? Like
Mhm.
accepting yourself and understanding yourself better. Yeah, I love that. That's why I
Exactly.
read the
And
chart for my kids and for myself,
mhm.
just to understand them better. Where are they coming from? What are the energies they are working with? And it's not
Mhm.
prediction, it's more kind of understanding, right?
Yes, exactly. It's like getting to know them better.
Yes.
And maybe if you, based on the your traumas or your experiences or the customs of your culture, would think, okay, if my baby is maybe not speaking that much and likes to be quiet, you would get worried. But then you see, okay, they have a lot of Cancer and Taurus. It means, they're like very gentle, happy wherever you put them. And, you're kind of like, your worry is alleviated. You
Oh
don't,
my God, I
or
can't.
if they are,
Yeah.
sorry?
No, I can't believe you brought this example, because actually, like, it was exactly the thing that happened to me. My younger daughter didn't speak for a longer time. And then
Mhm.
just like I accidentally came across this chart, and she has Saturn somewhere. And it literally said,
Maybe conjunct Mercury, most likely.
yeah, and it literally said that in early childhood problem with communication. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just,
Right?
it's not like I stopped doing things about it, right? She still goes to speech therapy,
Yeah.
but there wasn't this tension and this fear, right, about
Yeah.
what's happening. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, should we talk? Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Now, I want to say that astrology is kind of like this expert on people,
Yeah,
and that tells you, that's normal. And sometimes
yeah,
that's all we need to hear. Like, I was in psychotherapy, like
yeah,
just for a few months. I wanted to try it out. I wanted to, I have my problems, and I also wanted to talk about it with an expert.
yeah,
And the expert didn't tell me something I didn't know, but
yeah.
that I didn't know deep down. But she confirmed some things with such certainty, with such confidence, that I felt like a huge burden leaving me. And my experience didn't leave me, my responsibility didn't leave me, but me thinking about it constantly left me. So I had more energy for other things. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that,
I
I think that's the power of astrology as
Yeah.
well.
Even, I'm thinking, even if you are not in astrology, like you or me, slightly less deep, but still, like even reading your chart once in your life, with
Mhm.
somebody legit, can be so incredibly helpful, healing, and self-accepting, like we talked about, right? Like you don't have to
Yeah,
follow it,
yeah,
but even like have a
exactly.
slight or even one reading, I think it's amazing. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, I would completely agree.
should we talk about New Year 2020? Not that new anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 2025.
2025. I really
Mm-hmm.
wanted, like we talked yesterday, that I really want to bring something, tangible. We are not, I don't think so, like predicting here, but 2025 is already to a rocky start. And
Yeah.
is there anything people should know about, be aware, understand energies we are going to work with this year? Anything that is
Mm-hmm.
important thing to share, we would really appreciate it.
Yeah, so this is a year of a lot of changes because Jupiter is entering a new sign, Saturn is entering a new sign, Neptune is entering a new sign, Uranus is entering a new sign, and recently Pluto entered a new sign. So this, I don't know if this, how often this happens, but I think that maybe like every few thousand years. And so yeah, a lot of changes in many changes that maybe we won't feel because when a planet enters, outer planet enters a new sign,
Yeah.
it's a gradual change. For example, um, Neptune rules glamour, culture, Hollywood, and in Pisces is nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
So we had a lot of remakes in the last 10 years while
So
Neptune
should
was
we
in
accept?
Pisces.
Should we expect like sequels?
N- i- i- I think that what we should expect is with Neptune entering Aries, and Aries is such an independent sign that we should expect a lot of very forceful pieces of very forceful, let's say, short films. Films that stick to one topic, that are no longer like multiverses and remakes and connect. Pisces likes to connect things. Aries
Yeah,
doesn't care about that. So we will get, yeah, a lot of different films that otherwise we wouldn't, a lot of unexpected things in the
got
art.
it.
But yeah, but that's just one planet, right? We have many others as well. And yeah, here I'm looking at the chart.
Yeah.
Uranus is entering Gemini, which is a really big deal, especially in the United States, because United States was founded with Uranus in Gemini. The
Mm-hmm.
Civil War happened in Uranus and Gemini. United States entered World War II with Uranus and Gemini.
Wow.
So every time Uranus is in Gemini, United States was at war, which is very interesting.
You see,
We
this
will
is this
see.
element of science. What science is? It's recording and proving pattern and cause and effect, right? So this is kind of like a science.
Yes.
Slightly. Okay, I know we still have to get there, Diego, but slightly. Sorry
No,
for.
no, no. Yeah, yeah, you're completely right. You're completely right. But in science, a sample of three occurrences wouldn't be enough to make a conclusion.
Yeah,
So I won't. I wouldn't say with certainty that United
yeah,
States will enter a war, but there's a possibility. But I think what's certain is that after every Uranus in Gemini, United States enters a period of greater prosperity. Something greatly changes. It changed after the revolution, civil war, World War II. Usually, a huge influx of money happens. So we will see if that will happen again.
Wait, did
That's a
you say
positive side of
West
Uranus in Gemini.
enters the greatest moment of prosperity? That's what you said?
I wouldn't say greatest moment of prosperity, but the increase in prosperity
Oh, got it.
after every Uranus and Gemini.
That's
Yeah, so
good.
that's something good to hope here. And then we have Saturn changing signs as well. Saturn will be in Aries. This won't change a lot of things in the culture and
Yeah.
the historical events, but if you are 28, 29, and you have Aries, Saturn in Aries, you will enter your Saturn return, which is a huge deal for every person, where you are basically going through some sort of confirmation of everything you have done previously in your life, and seeing if it still sticks to you and whether or not you will continue with it. So it's a really tough period for everyone who goes through that. Usually people get children in that time because, maybe they don't know what else to do, or it's kind of like everything that they worked for up until that point was to found a family, to get married, to have children. So that is the time where that comes true. If you were working on your career, this is a shift in your career. If you hate your career, this is also a shift in your career. So yeah, but it's a very tough period where a lot of
And it's
people.
happened age 27, you said, and 29. What is the age usually?
Yeah, depends. Yeah, depends. If you are born at the end of the Saturn or of in Aries or the beginning. But yeah, everyone should look at their charts and see if they have Saturn in Aries, because it will begin for them, and it's good to know, because you're going through a lot of difficult stuff, and astrology also allows us to know it will pass. Everything is a cycle, and every cycle comes to an end. So that's a very yeah, it's a good thing to know. And then
Yeah,
after
it's
that.
because I, for example, moved to United States on my Saturn return.
Oh, okay. So you basically started over in your Saturn
Yeah,
return in a way,
I
right?
left everything
Yeah.
behind, which was
Hmm.
it was a really difficult moment. Leaving everything behind, all friends or family, everything I knew. Right,
Yeah.
it was pretty challenging, but I guess it
Yeah,
worked out.
exactly.
I guess I passed.
Yeah. Yeah, usually Saturn loves bold steps. So if you have Saturn return and you're ready to take bold steps, it will pay off,
Hmm.
which is something you did, which is great.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I encourage everyone to do the same. And
good.
then we also have Jupiter entering Cancer, which is a good thing, which is also a good thing for prosperity in the United States, because Jupiter will enter the eighth house of the United States, and Jupiter means like expansion of something. So yeah, so that is another good news. And another good news is that very soon, in like 2 months, Mars will exit finally Cancer, which doesn't affect United States well. There are a lot of accidents, a lot of like, even when there is not a crisis, with the political situation, the some of the executive decisions that have been made, you can't feel them right
Yeah,
now. It will be a long time since they come in, for them to come into effect. However, there is a great energy of dread that is covering the United States, and that's mostly because of this Mars in Cancer that's very defensive, but also passive. It's just like you are hiding in your cocoon, and if somebody gets too close, you try to pinch them. And I feel like everyone, a lot of people are behaving that way. There's like a giant, many people are outspoken against what's going on in the political world,
yeah,
but there's not much to do. It's just it's passive, mostly passive aggressiveness,
yeah.
which is exactly the the quality of Mars in Cancer.
So
So that's also
that's
part
for 2 more months, right? And then the Mars gets
for
out
two
of
more
it.
months.
Thank God, thank God.
Yes, so there will be much more pinching going on, much more roaring, because Mars will enter Leo. So the discourse might get more chaotic, it might get more exuberant.
Yeah.
However, this feeling of helplessness, and that's maybe the key word, because the Cancer feels helplessness, and that's how many people feel, will pass. So that's a good thing, yeah.
Oh my God, so many good things, Diego, in 2025.
Yeah, I'm focusing on the positive there. If we forget about the mention of war at the beginning of this question, we can say that there are a lot of positive things happening in the next couple of months. Actually, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So interesting. Anything else coming up for you for this 2025 to bring up, or that sums it up?
I think that sums it up for the major things. Of course,
Yeah.
we can talk more about the details, but I think that sums it up
Yeah.
for the major things that will happen in the US that will affect the US the most.
Yeah. Is there anything specific, because you have this amazing TikTok videos when you talk about like prediction of Super Bowl or part of United States or Dodge,
Yeah.
which is fascinating to like analyze these current events in that perspective, and what things can mean. Is there anything that you are passionate about or want to bring up from those little subjects, or in share?
Uh-huh. So I would like to say, that I've been always thinking about astrology from that, pattern recognition in history.
Yeah.
Uh, but only like in the last like few months, I've been diving deeper into it since I've been starting making these videos and kind of like collecting all of this knowledge that maybe I already had, maybe I was already interested in, into little, you know, balls of knowledge I can throw to people so they can catch them.
Yeah.
So apart from the things I made TikToks about,
Yeah.
I'm still not an expert to speak about anything else. But
Oh,
please stay tuned to the Cosmos Within the Earth TikTok. And next time we speak, I will be able to share, yeah, so much more about this.
yeah.
I'm certain.
I love how people were excited about your video about Kanye West, that he's such a
Uh-huh.
Gemini, and his
Yes.
relationship with his wife. That was so interesting. Looks like people were super interested. I feel like you have to tap into the pop culture moment and do an astrological chart reading for Blake Lively and Baldoni. What's going on there?
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about that like 3 days ago,
Yeah, I think you
about to do it
have
about them. Yeah.
to tap into
Yeah,
this. Help us
I was
understand.
researching it a bit. I was researching it a bit, but then I kind of like dropped it. You know why? Because turns out that,
Yeah.
okay, this is like a little bit of gossip column right now, but when Blake Lively met Ryan Reynolds, he was married to Scarlett Johansson, and then she did the same thing she's doing with this Baldoni guy. She did with Ryan Reynolds. She was flirting with him constantly on every interview, and later on they got together. So yeah, maybe this is like something she does, and then I kind of like lost interest a little bit because I felt like maybe I solved the mystery.
Yeah.
So, but I can look, it would be interesting actually to see what in her chart makes her be so flirtatious with her coworkers. That would
Yeah.
perhaps be an interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you have to tap into this moment. I want to
Okay.
know. Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to know astrologically what's going on.
Mhm.
Awesome. Should we just look for a second at my chart? If there is any
Yeah. Yeah.
that you
For sure. Let's.
know of, the positives that I should know of. Again, as an example, how somebody can use the astrology on my example. I love to be example for everybody that way, a tester. Just the background, I'm going through transition in my career, right? I left corporate world and now I'm full force doing something else. So that's the biggest thing that is happening in my life, and that I
Yes.
definitely go through some growing pains with it, right? Because it's not easy to start over on some level. You never start over, but it sure feels like it at times. So just that background for you, maybe to kind of co-create.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely get you. Let me so to kind of like see what transits you're currently going through. I'm
Yes.
going to make a transit chart.
Oh, we have my dog going off
That's your
in the back.
dog?
Yes. Oh, always. It's life. It's life. That's how life is. We have animals. We have kids. We
Beautiful.
have.
You can bring your dog. We can
Yes,
say hi
I
to
know.
him.
He's
Yeah,
protecting the house. He's my soulmate, so he always protects the house, and he's just like too protective.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a good dog then. So yeah, you said you left your corporate world and everything, and indeed, the North Node entered like a few weeks ago your 10th house of profession.
Yeah.
So here is it, and it's right. It's going to be conjunct with your South Node. So it's basically you're replacing old with new.
Mm-hmm.
In this area of your life. And also, your Saturn is hanging out here for the last year and a half. And Saturn, wherever it is, you always feel sluggishness. You feel like you're stuck. So you probably felt like you're stuck in your career, in your
Oh
profession,
my
and
god,
you wanted a
so
change.
much.
Yeah, but Saturn, people forget about this, but the other side of Saturn is progress, consistency. And what do you want to progress? You don't like the bad things you have in your life, you don't want them to progress. You want to progress beautiful things in life. So where Saturn is passing, you will always progress the things you love and the things that you are good at. So the
Yeah.
fact that you took the career that you chose for yourself now and the path you chose, it's something that you love because
Yeah.
Saturn was here. It showed you the difficulties you will face, and you will not go into those difficulties unless you really are ready to do the work. And Saturn is indicating where you need to do the work, where you're willing to do the work. So yeah, that's why you change the profession. And I would say that every time Saturn is transiting through someone's 10th house, that change in profession will actually be very positive, and the progress will be visible there. Yeah.
Good. That's a good news.
Yeah, so that's about the profession. So
But I
we
love that you
have,
said this stuck and sluggishness because I felt that, I felt that
yeah.
and I felt frustration around it. So look at this. If I knew it
Mhm.
earlier, maybe this level of frustration I felt will be elevated. I would be like, okay, let me put hat down. Let me focus on consistency in doing what I want to do. This is just Saturn.
Yes, yeah, you
Yeah.
will probably make peace with it sooner and
Yes.
maybe change your career sooner as well. Yeah. Yeah, but I just want to also note that for people who love their careers, if Saturn enters their 10th house, it's probably just be more progress. Saturn is about recognizing which things put unnecessary limitations on us. And yeah, in your career was, putting limitation that you don't want. Because if you think about it, our lives are full of limitations. And I love some limitations. But I feel like happiness is about choosing the right limitations.
Yes.
And that's what Saturn is trying to help us with. So yeah, you have that in your chart. And then let's see here. So for the longest time, you had Pluto transiting on top of your Sun and Mars. So there was like maybe a lot of blame you put on yourself and the way you do things, and because of this energy of Mars, and maybe you were moving away and in a way metaphorically burning the people who represent some sort of authority in your life, because the sun represents authority, the Pluto represents moving away from that and kind of like maybe destruction, decay of authority in your life. So I would say that now that transit has passed, like maybe 2 months ago, but it was a long time here, like 4 years. For four
Yeah.
years, I would say that you were fighting against some sort of authority, and trying to kind of like minimize its impact on your life. So that was yeah, that was a huge transit that will probably become more evident the more time passes, because Pluto is a very slow planet. So it doesn't make it rarely makes events happen. It usually, like, we have to analyze like big chunks of our life to notice
Yeah.
this change like Pluto brings.
Yeah, that
Um
totally rings the bell. I definitely had this tendency of like blaming myself for a lot of things, and then I do feel like in context of career and personal life, I went out under some kind of bigger authority, even being my own
mhm.
boss, right? I had so many years bosses above me,
Uh-huh.
right? So now getting
Yeah.
out of that and being my own, that may be also
Hmm.
symbolizing it as that.
Yeah, definitely. And also, Sun represents father figure in your life. So, like, getting further away from the way your father figure was doing things was something that you were probably concerned with. You didn't want to do things the way that such paternal figure was doing them. That was also one of the probably
Yeah,
one of the things that this Pluto did in your life.
yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that.
Hmm. Yeah, I also
Yeah.
had this transit recently, so it's kind of like pretty fresh for me since we are 2 days. Our suns are basically conjunct, so
Yeah.
we have. So whenever you have something going on with your sun, I have as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah. We are like
yeah,
Astro
yeah.
twins. Astro twins.
Basically,
Yeah.
basically, yeah, yeah. Similar
If there's
things.
anything
We
in
go through
your
similar
chart,
issues.
yeah. If
Sorry.
there's anything in your chart, Diego, is there's anything in your chart,
Mhm.
Diego, that indicates your astrology passion and
Yeah, many things. In fact,
yeah,
if you ask me, like I have my Sun conjunct Uranus and Neptune. Uranus is maybe kind of like a disruptor and but also innovator and the weird one. And being an astrologer, especially maybe in some communities it's not weird, like in India, or in some maybe more liberal communities in US. But in from where I come from, it's very weird. It's like it's a mark of a black sheep, and this Uranus on my sun is definitely a mark of a black sheep. So that's one of the things. So I had to do something weird. I had to do something weird, and it turned out to be astrology. Maybe it didn't have to be astrology. And then I also have a Neptune on my sun. And Neptune is like mystical arts. It's
oh,
maybe art in general, spirituality, dealing with something unknown, something blurry, something foggy. And let's be honest, we don't know much about astrology because it doesn't have scientific method. So
yeah,
a lot of it is walking through darkness and trying to feel something tangible. You know, So that's also one of the indications that I will be into something like this. And then also maybe Jupiter is um the strongest planet in my chart by far. Like it's
yeah,
in its domicile, it's conjunct Venus. It has great aspects. Yeah, it rules my Saturn, and my Saturn rules many of the other planets. So it's really, really strongest one. And Jupiter is like a teacher, like somebody who tries to bring cohesion to things. And if you look deeply into it, astrology is all about bringing cohesion into history, maybe
Yeah,
into modern culture, into people itself. So I would say that that's pretty
accurate.
telling of
Yeah.
the, maybe not of me being an astrologer, but it's telling of the way, of the kind of an astrologer I am.
Mm,
Is that Jupiter? Yeah.
okay. Yeah, which kind of you do connect those dots in a history, in a present moment, right? Looking for
Mhm.
patterns, bringing that to, yeah.
Yeah, that's what. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Mm.
So, Diego, is there is anything I always ask because we learn so much from each other, and I forget to mention to you, but I always like to ask if there's anything in your life now that you love, that is expanding you, that it's simplifying your business or helping in your business, anything that pops up to your mind or that you are fascinated with, any podcast, book, any app, anything
Uh,
like on the
yeah,
spot.
many
Mhm.
things. Like I have been reading a lot lately, and there's this book that I love. It's like
Yeah, we love
that I
books.
read. I like books, but this one I read like just maybe 3 weeks ago, and
Yeah.
it's quite a famous, it's quite a famous book. But I would really recommend it to everyone. It's Ted Chiang, The
Uh-huh.
Story of Your Life and Others. It's basically a collection of short science fiction stories, but it
Hmm.
has such, each one like has such depth, and the author basically creates these extraordinary environments for
Yeah.
characters to express themselves and to really pop up psychologically, and it's a book that really teaches you a lot about yourself. So I would recommend that one to
That-
everyone.
I'll
Something that I
definitely link
recently
it.
did.
I'll definitely link it.
Yeah. Then I've been watching the Severance TV show. You know it?
Severance?
It's on Apple TV. Severance. Yeah, you know the TV show.
Is this about this office space?
Yeah, exactly. So
I
one
cannot get
personality of
into
it.
it. I cannot get to it. Do you like it?
Oh my God, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Maybe
You
I'll,
maybe you have to just push through first few episodes.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I
Yeah,
have to
I
give it a
like
chance.
it. Yeah, I like it for multiple reasons. So basically, the premise of the show is
Yeah.
that you don't want to work, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
do things. And this company, Lumen, which is like, if you have seen Blade Runner, big. It's a big dystopian company that has a lot of many industries,
Yeah.
and they invented a way to remove all of your memories, all of your traumas, all of your habits, and just leave them on a chip and turn you into like a new person.
Robot.
Like you,
Oh,
I wouldn't say robot. It's like you got amnesia,
okay,
but
got
like a deeper amnesia. It's like because even your habits disappear, and they can switch that on and off. So when you go to the office, you forget everything. It's like you live another life in the office.
it.
So when
Yeah.
you walk through the doors, it's like 8 hours didn't pass. It's like instantaneous. You walk in and out, and 8 hours passed in the office. So basically, one version of yourself is always outside, and one version of yourself is always inside. And what's interesting is, like, what happens to people in such an environment? It means that when family and friends meet the people who are on the inside, they always
Yes.
like them more. They always like them more because those are the real themselves. That's what the show is about. How when you are stripped of everything you've been through, the heaviness of it, that's the maybe even more real you than the one that remembers everything. You know. So it's about this uh question of who we are essentially, but maybe every TV show is about the question of who we are. But yeah, it's very astrological in a way, maybe
Okay,
like,
I feel like I will give it a chance. You sold me on it.
yeah, like if we don't have these experiences, would we be our pure natal charts? You know, maybe those people who are in the office, they are maybe living their astrology more than the people on the outside. You know, it's a question. And one interesting thing about this show and connected to astrology is that in the ancient world, there is one keyword for Mars,
Yeah.
and it's sever. So Mars severs. So wherever Mars appears, there is some major burning going on. There is some major conflict that will separate two sides and create a rift. And in the chart of Severance, the TV show, Mars is the strongest planet. And I actually checked it a few days ago,
No.
and yeah, it's quite telling. It's quite telling. And then I went to research. That research is still not done. I will actually make a video about that. Other TV shows that I love and other movies I love, and to check out what are the strongest planets in those pieces of media, and if they correspond with the general feel, the general energy of the audiovisual piece. And so far, yeah, like everything corresponds. Like the first thing I went to check as well was Yes Man. You know Yes Man, it's a
Yeah.
film with Jim Carrey. Yeah, I went to check that because Jupiter is essentially a yes man. You know, whatever comes to Jupiter, Jupiter says
It's
yes.
like
Yeah, I
yes,
can
yes.
do it.
More,
Yeah,
yes.
you know, no big deal. Yeah, you know, like one more thing, no big deal. You know, just go with the flow.
Yeah.
You know, you can do anything. You're so big. You're so powerful. It's very optimistic planet, and you know, Jupiter is basically very prominent in the yes man chart. But the interesting thing is, it's in detriment. Because in that in that film, him saying yes to everything actually gets him in a lot of trouble. So
Oh,
that's not the film about the benefits of saying yes. It's maybe more a film of the caution of saying yes. So the Jupiter in that film, in that chart, is the most important planet, but it's also weak. So that means that we see the negative effects of it. So that's something
oh,
interesting. And then I went to
fascinating.
check. Yeah, it's fascinating, right? Then I went to check Pride and Prejudice film, you know, which is like,
Yeah.
I thought, okay, so Venus will be very prominent here because it's about love, it's about
No.
unity, it's
Yeah.
about reconciliation, right? So I thought, you know, okay, Venus will, it will be something with Venus. And indeed it is. But Venus is in Scorpio. So it's like, it's not a happy Venus, it's a possessive Venus. It's a Venus that
Uh,
loves that Venus that loves more than any other Venus, but it doesn't know how to protect itself. It dives in love head first, and it attaches to people to its own detriment. And literally, Venus in Scorpio is in detriment. So that was also very interesting.
that
And yeah,
can
I
I have a
collected
quick
some more.
question? A quick question. So, for example,
Yeah,
for something like a show, right?
yeah,
How you is the premiere of the day of the premiere of the show is that day of the birth?
yes, exactly. Hmm.
Okay, got it. Just so I understand how you narrow that down.
Yeah, it's a moment the show enters the world. That's kind of
Got it.
like
Like a birth.
symbolic
Yeah.
of
Yeah, yeah, got
like
it.
a bird. Yeah, yeah.
That
Do
is
you want me to
fascinating.
check any other show? What shows do you like?
What shows do I like? Oh my God, I don't know what lately. I like White Lotus. It just
Yeah,
premiered.
White Lotus is cool. Yeah, that's
But
cool.
you know what
So,
I'm
what would you
like more
say White
interested
Lotus is about? Is
by?
it like
What I'm
about
more
mystery or
yeah.
yeah?
Yeah, it's a
What would you
mystery.
say White Lotus is about for you?
So it's definitely a mystery. It reminds me I used to be obsessed as a kid. I read everything Agatha Christie, and it reminds me of hairstyles. So there is like usually on the beginning there is some kind of tragic event like death, and then we go
Hmm. Hmm.
retrospect, and it's always set up with the beautiful people in the beautiful settings.
Yeah,
Uh, so
yeah.
in like a hotel, like a leisure. like this season is in Thailand. Last one
Yeah.
was in Italy, and the settings, the views, the hotels are amazing. The people are usually very beautiful, but also like weird characters. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's a very interesting concept, and I like this show because I like
Okay.
mystery.
So I would say it's very mercurial. Like yeah, a lot of fun thinking, fun searching, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah. I will
yeah,
check that one as well.
yeah.
Then
You
yeah.
know what I'm like now obsessed? I think I will ask you. Like, do you do readings? Still regular readings for people?
I do readings. I do readings. Yeah, I can do a reading, yeah.
Yeah, because I may reach out to you and order a reading for Poland. Would love to see what's going on there since nine
For
nine.
Poland.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're able to
Interesting.
do
All right.
since we're able to do one for it's always close to my heart for United States. Yeah, we will chat
Mm-hmm,
about it.
mm-hmm.
Listen to you. Thank you so
Okay.
much. I think it was so fascinating, and I love how we just show how astrology, like even with this show, so it's so amazing how you
Mhm.
can tie it back and learn something additional in those small details, like with the severance,
Mhm.
right, and the Mars who's sever, like, oh my god, it's blowing my mind, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But thank you so much. Thank you for the amazing work you do. We
Mhm.
have I'm going to link all your contacts, your TikTok, your website, your amazing candles, and we got amazing
Great.
discount, 20% off. I think candles are such an amazing gift. I love to receive candles. And the birth date one, it's amazing. Going full circle, one more question about that. So, you know how everybody, when they are born, like I'm January 20th night, right? But then I also have
Yeah.
a, so in astrology, to see my chart, I have to have a year, all day, the year, and also even an hour. So how did it work
Yes.
for those candles that there is not a year for that
Hmm.
day? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
how
that's
does
what.
it, because I
Yeah.
understand
So
that there
that.
are still patterns even when we take away the year, right?
Mhm.
There are still patterns in a day and a month, right? Is that how it works?
Exactly, exactly. So, what the specific year gives us is the insight into like more nuanced events of a person's life. But even without the year, we can examine like some more, maybe more spiritual themes of a person
Okay.
and their mission, their obstacles, their strengths, their weaknesses. We can still see those things, but it's hard. That's why it took us so long to make this, but we made it right. And yeah, if I think everyone will be thrilled with their candle.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
because of
It
that.
reminds me when I was growing up in Poland, I had on the bookshelf in my house, we had this astrology book. That's how I got introduced. And it
Mm-hmm.
was day by day, like each day, what does it mean? And I always remember reading it and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this doesn't seem right. Because there are some
Yeah,
things I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
like.
Yeah, who knows what techniques those that astrologer used.
I know, but
Maybe,
I
yeah,
remember.
maybe they were a bit subpar.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
actually brought this book with me here to United States for some reason, but that's funny. They reminded me those the
yeah,
your. Anyway, thank you, Diego. I so much
yeah.
appreciate you and your work. And yeah, I will link all the contacts if anybody's interested in candles or reading or your amazing insights on TikTok and other social media. Um, it
Hmm.
will be. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Anya. And I would like to invite all of your viewers to, uh, check our website and subscribe to our TikTok because many interesting things are coming up. And yeah, to maybe consider giving their loved ones a candle, which
Yeah,
is very inspiring. So
yeah,
yeah, it's a possibility. Hmm.
awesome. Thank you
Yeah,
so
thank
much.
you, Anya.